Thank you so much for making time, Mr. Sauropod. We don't have a whole lot of time, so we'll make this really snappy.
No problemo, compadre. I haven't had this much heat since the Cretaceous period.
So, what would you say are the duties and responsibility of a paleontologist?
Well, first off, if you have a purty wife such as myself, you'll be hearing some nagging on the disturbance of delicate ecosystems in order to study fossils. She's focused on global warming, but she's sure got my globes a-warming. But in all honesty, paleontology is a science and should be taken as such. Like anything else you discover, you have to do a deep dive into its history to see if anybody else called dibs. Just 'cause you undug it don't mean it's yours to name. Credit is very important in this industry and is often neglected. When you find a bed of bones, you write down the coordinates so us scientists can figure out how exactly what led to its death. As with every dinosaur comes a chunk of history found once again.
What's the working environment like?
You spend a lot of time working on fossils indoors with your brushes and scrapers. When you first analyze the exact placement of the bones, it can take months to uncover a fossil from the ground and even longer to polish it for further research. Paleontologists sometimes go into the fields during the summers with good forecasts, so it's going to be sweaty and physically exhausting. Bring the fossil back to your lab and uncovering it completely will take years.
What are the skills and abilities needed to become a paleontologist?
You know the boreal pelta? The world's best conserved dinosaur? Some tractorman accidentally dug 'em up and called up some scientists. They accidentally broke it in half despite how careful they was. Luckily nothing was too damaged, but after that dilemma they started to wonder how the hell a dinosaur ended up there in the first place, since millions of years ago that area was drowned in the ocean. How did the boreal pelta get covered in sediment at the bottom of the ocean? Another scientist made a computer program simulating the buoyancy of a dead boreal pelta. Like a whale, if left undisturbed with dead, it'll swell up the belly side and explode into bits once the skin breaks from the pressure. They found the force from the exploding belly shot the dinosaur like a bullet into the bottom of the ocean, covering it up and protecting materials, and that's how it became the world's best preserved dinosaur. Paleontology requires more than just digging up bones. You need analytical skills, practical thinking. You need to be informed on the topic of physics, computer science in this case. The ability to think fast or else a fossil can shatter from mistreatment.
What are some educational requirements?
You need a university degree in geology, geochemistry, geophysics, or a related field. A doctoral degree might be needed for employment. It's all dependent on your employer.
Okay. So, roughly what salary can you expect from this job?
The salary of a paleontologist can range up from as low as $73K to $128K.
Do you believe that this job will have high demand in the future?
Although learning about dinosaurs is all good and great, it's becoming more apparent that we need to prioritize the state of the Earth. With the excessive use of fossil fuels, overconsumption, and overpopulation, the Earth's health is at an all-time low. By using the example of prehistoric animals, we can apply the state of the Earth back then to our Earth now. For example, the high carbon levels. We can theorize what unconventional things we can do to help the climate. This, and coming up with a way to study fossils without disturbing the plant's ecosystems, such as an X-ray to view the fossils from the ground, we can study the fossils while still buried.
What are some pros and cons?
Well, first cons. As far as our technology is developed, we cannot study the fossils without hurting the land around it. There's very few employment opportunities for aspiring paleontologists. Takes a lot of physical fitness to roam around for exposed bone. Fossils are significantly more delicate than people think. One wrong move and you ruin all evidence of a creature. And it's worth to mention that the field is heavily consisted of white European people. Little to no input is given from our indigenous brothers and sisters. It will take a strong person of color to make themselves known. Pros, though, if you love dinosaurs and stand for the development of paleontology, then this job is everything you could ever want. Another pro is that the knowledge is never ending. Unlike discovering space, you know that the evidence is already there. You just have to find a creative way to get to it. Also, nothing is better than bringing life to an animal that once was. How does paleontology relate to science? A big part of science is the discovery factor. Looking into something deeper than ever before is what it means to be a scientist, and paleontology is, literally, digging into something deeper than ever before, and becoming the first human to discover something. Well, in most cases. Now let me ask you something. Why do you have an interest in paleontology?
Okay, I suppose reflecting is the last requirement for this project. So yeah, as you said, paleontology is a really white person focused medium. So I'm hoping to contribute in my own way by researching this, by interviewing you, by taking this class seriously, by applying for scholarships, doing everything I can to make a change. I know there are a lot of Indigenous voices that aren't being heard, and it's been seen time and time again where scientists would come onto Indigenous land, Indigenous reserves, and research the land with little to no communication, and that has happened in my lake before, where scientists have come over to study and look for like gold or whatever. But anyways, that was a whole thing. But we've had a lot of instances where we would be just at our lake, and then for some reason some people would come over and just like antagonize us in some way or another, and it's really weird and really threatening, and we've had to talk to a lot of people about it. So anyways, this is my way of contributing because paleontology is really important to me, and I think it could really help me in the future. Perfect. Thank you so much. That's all we needed for today, and I will be using all of this. Thank you so much, Mr. Sauropod.